Hi everybody, welcome to my channel, Paperbacks and Lattes. My name is Paige. Today I will be telling you about all the books that I read in March. So this is my March wrap up and it's gonna be a long one, I can already tell you. I read 33 books in the month of March. I am starting to read more books now that I am reading or listening to audiobooks. I used to not like audiobooks, but in February and March, I just really picked it up. I don't know, it just something clicked. And now a good portion of my reading is audiobooks because I just cannot give up the time to sit down and read for a majority of my day because I'm a mom. I'm just super busy, and so I have to rely on audiobooks a lot because I just can't sit and read as much as I would love to. So anyway, so let's go ahead and get started. I also want to go ahead and ask this question. So if you would, please let me know, would you rather watch a super long wrap-up video at the end of the month, or to a mid-month wrap-up and then an end of the month wrap-up? Because I'm trying to figure out what I should do for my channel. I've only done the end of the month wrap-ups, but they tend to go quite long sometimes, and I don't know if you'd rather see 2 wrap-ups per month so that way it's not so long. So anyway, just let me know, and thanks. So let's go ahead and get started. So the very first book that I read for March was Refrain by Kennedy Ryan. This is the 3rd book in her Soul series. This is the series that follows Refrain and Kai. I read the first 2 books in the series in February, and then I read the 3rd one in March, and I really cannot tell you anything about it because that would be spoiling it, of course. But this is about Refrain, who was a childhood prodigy. You know, he was a childhood star. He plays piano. He's a genius at playing the piano. And, but he emancipated from his parents when he was a teenager because they weren't managing his career correctly. And now he's been on his own for a long, well, he moved in with his uncle who helped rescue him from his situation. But he's, been on his own. He stopped his career for a while, but now it's back, and now he has made this name for himself, and he has his own recording company where he, takes on other musicians. And he meets Kai because she is actually one of his uncle's students, and he is immediately infatuated with her. Immediately. But she doesn't really give him the time of day because she has put a lot of other things before her in her life, and now she's at the point where she wants to put herself first and to try to get her career started, but she doesn't want to depend on Refrain for her career because she knows everyone's going to say the only reason you have anything is because of him. So all she can offer him is friendship, and so he takes what he can for a while until things turn more serious. And Refrain is the 3rd book in their relationship and their story, and it was remarkable. I loved every minute reading this. I read the Grip series first, which is actually she wrote after this series. But I would recommend reading the Grip series first because Bristol in the Grip series is not very likable in this series, in the Soul series. She kind of seemed like 2 completely different people. So read the Grip series first, so that way you're not put off by Bristol in this series. But this was still remarkable. I love the love story between Refrain and Kai. Refrain was all there for Kai. I mean, she was his world. He would do anything for her. He even at one point risked his whole career for her. And, because she was more important than anything. and I really loved their relationship. He could be a little overbearing at times, but he was just really alpha for her. So anyway, that is the third book in the series, and I rated it 5 stars. The next book is Autoboyography by Christina Lauren. I rated this one 5 stars. This is an romance between two guys who are in high school, and one is openly gay. His parents are very supportive of him. He has an amazing family support, and the other boy is Mormon, and he has to hide who he is, and he doesn't even admit to himself that he is gay, even when they start something between themselves. And this is really a story of him finding out who he is and them trying to have something together. It was really a great story. I love reading their journey and finding who they are, because they're still really young and they have this whole life ahead of them, and they're trying to figure out who they are and what they want in life. And it was just so good. I loved it. I rated it 5 stars. I really did enjoy this one. The next book I read is The Initiation by Nikki Sloane. Yes, I gave in to the hype of this book and I fell for it. I loved it so much. I rated it 5 stars. So this girl, she has to marry this guy because their family has no money. Her parents have totally bankrupt their, finances. Like, they have spent their money on frivolous things, and now it's up to her to save them. There is a deal struck between her and the son of a wealthy, prominent family, and they agree for them to get married. But he is joining in on his father's business, and there is an initiation that has to happen for him to do so, and it involves her. And I won't say what it is because it's like a huge part of this book and you don't know until it happens. But it's a little cringy. A little. I don't even know how to explain this book, y'all, because I don't want to spoil it. Just know that it's kind of taboo a little bit. But what she has to do to save her family is pretty wild. So she does this, and she, has to move in with the family and everything, and then he hurts her in a way. And then it goes on to the second book, which is The Obsession, and the father is very interested in her, his father. And he plays these games with her, which, like, they have to make deals. So she's always trying to outsmart him, outwit him, and be free of his clutches, and like free his son as well, because he has a lot of control over their lives. And so she plays like these nightly chess games with him, and he is obsessed with her. He wants his son's girlfriend as for himself, and she is all the time trying to escape his snares that he sets for her. And it's a pretty wild ride. I really cannot say much about these books, but it's a wild ride for sure. And of course, her boyfriend has hurt her, and because his father controls him, so he has limited control over the situation himself, and he has hurt her, and so she is just like stuck in this situation, and she's trying to find a way, to free herself. But she's also still there for her family, because the father has control over her family as well. Like, and then we go into the third book, which is the Deception. Everything just kind of comes together at this point. This is the third book, and there's actually a fourth book, but I didn't read it. But this is the third book, and it ends quite well with these people in this series, but the father is still just trying to have her, and her boyfriend, or her turned fiance, is trying to have her as well. And it's just a wild ride through these books, but it keeps you on the edge of your seat. You're always constantly wanting to know what's going to happen, who's going to have who, you know, and how it's all going to work out. And I rated each of these 5 stars because the anticipation of the story was amazing. And I just fell hook, line, and sinker for this story, this series. And I loved each one of them. Then I read Neighborly by Katrina Jackson. I had recently purchased this one. This was a Kindle purchase. And this is just an erotic fiction novel because they're already coupled together in this book. This is just erotic. So this is about a couple who's already married, and they have the house next to them. They own it, and so they put it up for rent. And this couple, who he's like a fighter or boxer or something, he and his girlfriend come to rent the house, and both of the wife and the girlfriend have fantasies about each other. And as they get to know each other, and the husband and the boyfriend, you know, they're very supportive in this. And this is pretty much their story of them fooling around with each other. So the 2 women they fool around with each other. The men do not. They just kind of like partake in it with their own girls. But this was pretty interesting. Never read anything like it. I did rate it 4 stars. I loved it for what it was. The next book I read is Hate Notes by Keeland and Penelope Ward. I rated this one 5 stars. This girl is trading in her wedding dress at this vintage store. She needs to try to sell it, but she said, the owner of the store says, no, you can't sell it. You can only trade it in for something else. She finds this beautiful wedding dress at this store, and she just, you know, is in love with it. So she's like, well, I'll just get this dress. So she finds a note inside of the dress that has this very, you know, like romantic saying from the groom to the bride, and it's pinned in this dress, and it has his name on it. And she wonders what happened in their story, that now this dress is just discarded in like this used clothes store. And she is kind of in a situation where, you know, life is not looking good. And so she gets drunk one night. She searches his name and finds him, and she makes an appointment because he is like a real estate agent for this very prestigious real estate company. The next day, she realizes what she did, but, you know, she figured, why not? I'll just go meet him. So she goes to this, she goes to her appointment to look at this very, very, very prestigious property. And he shows it to her. All the while he knows, because she put some pretty wild things on her application. Because she had said like things like she teaches dogs how to surf or to ski, one or the other. And so of course he knew it was all fake, but he wanted to meet her. And of course he's pretty rude to her, because, you know, he's like, you did this and you wasted my time, my valuable time, and why are you a liar? And he was pretty harsh to her. She goes to the bathroom, she's crying, you know, or she's like ranting about how awful he is, and this lady overhears her and says, you know, hey, talk to me about what's going on. She kind of just spills out her whole life story about what's going on. And she said, you know what, you sound like me when I was younger, come work at my company. So she goes to work at his company. Lo and behold, it's the guy's grandmother's real estate company. When he finds out she's working there, he goes ballistic. He's like, you hired her? But they start to work together, And she actually is very good at her job, and she researches about, you know, the places that they are showing, and he's pretty impressed with, you know, her work ethic, and with them working together, they grow, you know, into a relationship. It was a really cute story. I really loved it. I rated it 5 stars. The next one I read is Queen Move by Kennedy Ryan. I, of course, love this one. This was on my TBR for March, and I knew I had to read it because, of course, it's by Kennedy Ryan. I'm trying to read her whole backlist because she's just an amazing author. I don't think I've read anything by her that I don't like, so I was highly anticipating this book, and it met my expectations, of course. So the hero and the heroine have been best friends since they were babies, quite literally as babies. Something happens where one day the hero's parents take him away and they move, and the hero and the heroine have not seen each other since they were children. And then one day he shows up at her father's funeral. They're grown up now. Her father has passed, and he shows up at the funeral, and they, you know, and he's married and has a child. And then more time passes, and she goes back to where she grew up, and she's around him, and he's actually getting a divorce because they have fallen out of love with each other. Their marriage has, well, no, they're actually not married. I take that back. They're not married, but they never did marry because she didn't want to be married. But they are breaking up because their relationship just hasn't been, you know, what it needs to be for a long time. And this is their reconnection with each other, and their story is beautiful. He's a single dad, and she has this amazing career. Like, she has helped the president, you know, the person who's president now, get to be where he is, and she's like best friends with the first lady, and she's an amazing person. She does things, she's in like the political realm, like a political manager, and she's just trying to put the right people in the right positions that will, you know, further and help people. And this was their like second chance romance, and this was amazing. I loved their story. The next one I read is Culty by Mariana Zapata. Yes, I don't know why it's taken me this long to read Culty. One of her more popular books. But this one, of course, I rated 5 stars as well. This is about a girl who was a soccer player. She is on her soccer team. And this soccer player that she adored growing up, like, she crushed on him hard until he got married. And then an altercation between him and her brother, because her brother's also a soccer player. Well, he comes to her team as like another coach, and she has hard feelings, you know, about him already because of the altercation between him and her brother when they were used to play soccer. And she and then he just kind of like is very cold and rude, and he's just really a brooding hero. He doesn't say much at all. He doesn't really help them at all. And, you know, they were thinking, oh, this great soccer player, like, he was one of the greatest of all time, is going to help us. And he just sits there and watches them. So she's really fed up with him. She's angry at him for, you know, who he is. Like, she had built him up in her mind all these years about like how great of a person he is. And now she's realizing that, you know, maybe he's really not. Until one day he doesn't have a ride back to his house from the soccer, where they play soccer at, or where they practice. So she gives him a ride, and this begins, she gives him a ride almost every day. And they start, you know, this unlikely friendship. He is very lonely because he he's pretty alone in life, and she is somebody that he really connects with. And then one time they play a match to see who could win, and and they really both challenge each other. Like, they play until they are almost sick. Like, neither of them can hardly move the next day because they played so hard against each other. And he enjoyed that because nobody really challenges him like that. Everybody just wants out of him is for his fame. But she could care less about his fame, and she tells it to him all the time. Like, when he's rude, she lets it be known that she's not pleased with him. And their friendship turns into a relationship. And then she has such a great family, and he meets them. Her dad is so cute in this book. He's such a fangirl for he's fangirling for Kulti. And, you know, she's just like, Dad, get over yourself, you know, type of thing. And it was really funny, but he really found her family to be, you know, like his found family. And that was really special to see. So anyway, this is their relationship, their story, and I loved reading about it, and I rated it 5 stars. The next book I read is Always Only You by Chloe Liese. This is the second book in the Bergman Brothers series, and this was also another one on my March TBR. I rated it 5 stars, of course. I've loved the first 2 books that I've read in the Bergman Brothers series. This follows the brother Ren. Yes, Ren. And he is a hockey player. Even though like the rest of his family are like soccer players, he's a hockey player. And he has crushed on their like media manager for the team. Her name is Frankie. She does all of the team's promotional stuff, like responding to fans online, any kind of social networking, anything like that. She is the manager for all of that. And he has crushed on her for a long, long time. He is such an adorable hero. He is so adorable. He has a like Shakespeare club with his teammates, and that was super cute. And like he says, like when he curses somebody on ice, he uses like those type of wordings from the Shakespeare novels and things. It's so funny and so cute. He's also a virgin hero. He has, you know, not purposely saved himself, but you know, it has just happened. And he just adores Frankie and wants her. And she is autistic, and she has rheumatoid arthritis. I think it's a chronic illness. And so she is always, you know, she suffers from that, but you know, it doesn't hinder her, or she doesn't let it hinder her. And she has this career with this hockey team. And then her house is broken into. She's scared. He lets her stay at his house while things are being repaired in her place. And they're growing closer with each other. And a relationship forms between them. But it's, you know, they have to keep it under wraps because it's forbidden, because she works for the hockey team that he plays with. And so they're having to keep it under wraps. But, you know, she kind of like, she's the more experienced one. And I really love their relationship. Their relationship was amazing. I just fall hard for a hero like he is. The next book I read is That Second Chance by Meghan Quinn. I was looking for an audiobook one day, and I saw that this was available, so I'm like, sure, I'll go ahead and listen to it. I've never read a book by Meghan Quinn before, so I'm so glad I picked up this book. This is the first book in the Getting Lucky series, and this follows a very, very fun family. And this is like in Maine. There's this small town. I loved the setting in these books. This town in Maine is like a tourist destination where tourists come in the summer, and this family owns their like shop. They sell fudge and other treats and like merchandise that's like souvenir, like a souvenir shop type of thing. And Um, their dad is so cute in this book, where he's always trying up new fudge recipes, and he makes like these whole big huge days out of these fudge, where they all have to try his fudge. They're so sick of fudge. It's quite hilarious. And some of his recipes are bombs, and they're like, Dad, no, this is horrible. I can't tell you how many times I laughed through this book, and I read this whole series in the month of March, by the way. I just could not stop reading them. I loved them so much. And there's 4 brothers and 1 sister, and they have this group chat, like their sibling group chat. It's hilarious. Oh my goodness. The banter between these siblings when they talk is so funny. So funny. I laughed out loud so many times reading this book and this series. If you want a good romance series that makes you laugh so much, please read this series. It's amazing. But anyway, this first book is That Second Chance, and this centers around the oldest brother, Griffin, I believe. Yeah, Griffin. Okay, let's back up. The series is centered around this curse that was supposedly put on them by a like psychic in New Orleans. Their youngest brother turned 21. They took him to New Orleans to like, party it up on his 21st birthday. And they knocked over this lady's table and broke it. They were all drunk. And they kind of made fun of her for like, she read their future, and they kind of like made fun of her. And so she put this curse on them. And they all pretty much believed this curse. Well, not right at that moment, but when they got back, Griffin was already married. And when he got back home, a few days later, his wife died. And the curse was that they would not find love until they matured in their minds. And so then all of a sudden, they believed this curse was on them. So that's like the backstory and this goes through all 4 of the books. It's like the whole reason each of them have a hard time with their love life is because of this curse. So Griffin has lost his wife, and he has just not dated anyone. He's not been interested in anyone because, no one can replace his wife. He works at their family's business, and he's hoping to take it over one day. He's a volunteer firefighter, and he's also like runs the committee or the club to, like, on Saturdays, they go and spruce up the town to keep it looking really nice for tourists, because their hopes and dreams are to like one day for a movie company to come in and film a movie, like a romantic type of movie in their town. So they always want to keep it looking nice. So anyway, he does all this. The heroine crashes her car. She is from California and she's moving to Maine. She wants a fresh start in her life. She finds a position as an algebra teacher at the school in this small town. So she takes it. Well, while she's moving in and she crashes her car, he's a volunteer firefighter. So he is the one who rescues her from her car. And they grow close from that. That's how they meet. And he's the one that always shows her around town. He's the one that shows her like the best places to, eat, to do this. And they just grow really close from interacting with each other a lot. And this was their love story. Of course, I rated it 5 books. I rated them all 5 books. I rated them all 5 stars in this series. These were so amazing. I wish Meghan Quinn would write more, but that was all the brothers in the series. But next one I read is That Forever Girl, which is the 2nd book in the series. This follows the brother Rogan, which is the 2nd oldest. This is a second chance romance because he and the heroine of the story were best friends since they were children. Like, they were best friends before a relationship ever started. And they were high school sweethearts. They were in love with each other. They were actually engaged. He asked her to marry him. They went off to college together. They went to the same college. He was a football player. And while they were at college, a tragic accident happened that made him have to quit football. He injured himself and he felt inadequate. He didn't feel like he could take care of her because he was in a very bad place himself. He didn't feel like he was the man for her. And so he felt in order to save her from, you know, his awful life, that he needed to push her away. So he broke off their engagement, said very ugly things to her to push her away, and they broke up. Now, all these years later, she is back in their small town because her dad still lives there. Her dad is like the lighthouse keeper. And she's had a rough go of it herself. And he has made himself a company, a real estate company in this town. He practically owns most of the town. And they see each other again. And of course, it's hate, you know, hate to love, because how he left them was very ugly, the things he said to her. And they both do not want to see each other, you know, until he realizes that, you know, he needs to win her back because he's the only girl for her. He's never wanted anybody but her. And now that he wants to prove himself, you know, that he's the man for her. So he goes to groveling and to, you know, show her that, you know, he's still in love with her. Like, he named his company MFG Realty. Yeah, I was trying to remember. MFG Realty, which is my forever girl, because that's what he always called her, was, "You're my forever girl." And he bought all of the places that they loved. He bought the house that she wanted to live in one day because her parents wanted to live in it one day, before her mother passed. And he fixed it up. Like, he fixed all the properties up the way she, you know, she talked about them, how she imagined them. And this was just an amazing second chance romance. Very, very good.